Welcome to my super quick introduction to thermal energy transfer. This might be a review for you depending on when you're watching it, but let's get started. There are three main types of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. Conduction is when things touch. So, for example, let's take a little molecule. This is a molecule of air, and it's in the fire, it gets really hot, so it starts moving around really fast. And we've done this before with some simulations, and we've called that kinetic energy. It's the energy of motion. So these molecules, when we draw them like in a diagram, we would make them with these long arrows if they're moving fast, if they're hot, and then we would draw them with little short arrows if they're cold and they're not moving very fast. So you have all these molecules, and the ones that are hot are moving super fast, and they start bumping into the cold ones, coming into contact with them. So as they're moving around, they're transferring energy from one molecule to the other one. The next one we're going to talk about is convection. Convection happens when the molecules get heated up and they rise up into the air. And that's because they're becoming less dense, they're spreading apart. And as we draw these same little molecules here, you can see the cold ones are more squished together, the hot ones are farther apart. So the hot molecules rise up into the air, and as they go higher up into the air, they cool down and they start to drop back down because they're more dense. What happens then is a continuous cycle, and it's called a convection current. So the cold takes the place of the warm as it was rising, and then the warm goes up to the top, falls back down as it cools, and it starts over again. And finally, we have radiation. When we think of radiation, a lot of times we think of the sun. We have this heat coming from the sun, this energy that's heating the earth, heating our skin. We don't have to come into direct contact with it. That would be bad if we did. So radiation is caused from electromagnetic waves. So think of light. And so it's moving away from the light source, heading out in all directions. Conduction means it has to come in direct contact. It could be these molecules bouncing off and transferring the energy from the heat to the cold, or it could be you coming into direct contact with something like, ow, hot pizza, right? Convection. Convection is the hot air rising. It cools as it gets to the top and it sinks. You can feel it when you put your hand over something, and you can feel the heat rising off of it. And radiation, it's electromagnetic waves, and the heat is moving in all directions away from it, and you can feel it like a campfire when you're sitting beside it. You don't have to touch it, but you can feel the heat. And that's it. We have conduction, convection, and radiation.